Buddy.
Heroim Slava.
Welcome to the Why Ukraine live stream on this wonderful Sunday evening in Ukraine. And I've got Shere Khan with me in New Mexico. Unfortunately, Matt said he wasn't feeling well today and he couldn't make it. So I want to thank everybody for coming. It's awesome that you are all here. We're not going to talk about the news too much today. This is going to be not so much of a news day. This is going to be well, we've got important shit to talk about, guys. That's what it comes down to. We've been doing cool shit. You guys have been doing cool shit. And the first thing I want to just mention is that we now have enough for a drone. I'm not actually going to buy this drone from Rosetka, but it was a place I was looking at. We're going to buy it. It's actually coming from this company, Drone Ukraine. And yeah, we have enough to buy a drone, and it's I'm going to order it tomorrow morning in the morning. And those of you who entered the raffle, hello Miriam. Great to see you. Great to see you here. Those of you who entered the raffle, I will announce the Il Pirata. Wonderful. I will announce the winner of the raffle on our Thursday live stream. I just didn't have time to actually do the drawing today, so I'll do it over the next
It'll be me. I won. I just know
it. Petra, thank you for coming. I don't think I've seen you in here before, so, or at least, not commenting. So appreciate always new people is great. So, yeah, that's awesome. That's really super cool. And so I did a little announcement in, the title of the live stream today is a proposal for volunteers. And what inspired me on this, well, frankly, I drafted this proposal this time 2 years ago. So that's when I start. I looked at the last save date on this on the original version of this PowerPoint that you see in front of you, and I apologize for coming to YouTube with a PowerPoint. Excuse me, James, you were late, sir. I'm always late. A wizard is never late, right? I arrived precisely when I meant to.
You can blame it on me.
Yeah. Greetings from Delta 1382 Oblast. Are you actually on a plane, Il Pirata? You're always traveling somewhere, right? So I have big announcements. Basically, hopefully this drone will come to us in time. I'm quite sure it will. Delivery here is pretty fast. And we are going to deliver this drone next week. I know on the website it says Big Mac recommended FPV drone. Big Mac recommended the drone. It's not for Big Mac. I asked him what kind of, because he is a drone operator. So I asked him what kind of drone should we buy? And this is the one that he recommended. Not for himself, but for anybody that we're going to buy drones for. So my original intention was to give this drone to the Alpha Company 1st Battalion. They're on vacation.
Nice.
So they're on vacation for the next 2 weeks, I guess, or at least the people who are my contacts in the Alpha Company 1st Battalion are. So I said, well, I guess since you get to go on vacation, somebody else will get your drone this time, and we'll just do another drone fundraiser for you guys another time. So I spoke to Greg Terry, and he said, yeah, we have some guys out in Sloviansk who really, really need a drone, and they actually use these kind of drones. And specifically, I spoke to Greg Terry, and he had me speak to Zhenya, If you guys watch Greg Terry, you know Jenya's kind of like the Ukrainian on the ground. And so the details are not worked out yet, but we're going to be doing a trip at least out there to Sloviansk next week. And hopefully be delivering not just a drone, but also, for instance, Shirkan, the tourniquets that you purchased. And another thing to mention is one thing that I didn't consider when I was looking up this drone is batteries are not included.
Really?
Yeah. So, and the batteries, I'm still pricing out batteries. But the batteries I saw are like between $100 and $150 a piece.
And you need at least two.
You need at least two. And I guess this one, yeah. So luckily, because some of you entered not for the raffle, but just to pay for the drone itself, and that's gonna just about cover 2 batteries right there.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So with all of your guys' permission, I'm going to take this 212 here, and that's going to go towards the batteries, and then the money from the raffle, which I think should be updated on here. Let's see. Yes, just above 800, so $802. So we're going to be ordering that and taking it directly out to the front line, essentially. Yeah, Zhenya is very much a get her done kind of guy, and I really appreciate it. He's very straightforward, and so part of what inspired this stream is that Greg Terry and Zhenya were talking about on their last stream. It could have been with Dr. Gerdes. I think he was in on that co-stream this past week, and they were specifically talking about how frustrated they were that they have so many people who want to volunteer, but in different ways, in various ways, right? But there's not an infrastructure in place to handle them. And that made me realize, hey, I have an idea about that. And so here it is. Without further ado, the only person who has seen this, I don't know if Greg Terry has read it yet, to be honest. He said he was going to read it, but he's busy too. So the only other person here who's read this, the final version that you guys are seeing, guys, is Shere Khan. Among us, what did you think about when you read this proposal, Shere Khan?
I thought it was absolutely fantastic, to be honest with you, and it's something that's just absolutely necessary right now. I mean, it's a huge stopgap for what's going on, because there are so many people that want to help, and there's just very limited ways,
right,
that they can do it. I mean,
yeah.
like I said the last time I was on your podcast, I said, it's just everyone's buried in red tape.
Yeah.
This is a great way to get around red tape. Well, maybe, depending on how it works out.
Maybe we'll see.
It is Ukraine, so there's going to be some type of red tape.
Always going to be something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be clear, because I am doing research right now on different opportunities, it is getting better. Just to fill you guys in, it is getting better. So this volunteeringukraine.com, the last time I went to this website, and I emailed them, called them, messaged them several times, and it was not fleshed out like it is now. So I would say that it is getting better, and I don't want to say that there's absolutely nothing for volunteers to do here. But and there are other. The problem is it's making those connections, and and something that Greg Terry was really talking about, which is communication. And this is all done by Ukrainians. Most of the stuff I'm showing you here is Ukrainians, and you have language barriers sometimes, and just, I don't know, lack of organization. Blonde Bombshiller, yes, okay, please. You DM me when you have time, and then I will get back to you. I'm all into it. So this is what I'm presenting here is in no way a replacement for any of these. Rather, it should work. I want what I'm proposing here to work in concert with, in conjunction with one or multiple of these groups that are doing stuff. I just want to build that connection, because frankly, most of the volunteers who come here, they think they want to join the International Legion or they want to fight. To be perfectly honest, would you say that's accurate?
I would say that's pretty accurate until they realize the scope of what they're getting into.
Right. Well, maybe they don't really want to fight. Maybe they just want to have a T-shirt that says they fought.
Well, no, absolutely. The war tourism, I think, is still a big problem.
Yeah. Okay.
People that kind of want to just sit and gawk.
Right.
The nature of war is that's well, this is my philosophy I'm not young anymore. I'm not as healthy anymore, but I do have loads. I've got a good resume. So, but my number one philosophy besides, helping Ukraine is to not get in the way.
Yeah,
that's a big problem, and a lot of the early volunteers we saw as far as combat goes, they were just getting in the way. You had one or two experienced guys and a bunch of guys just standing around going, "Oh shit, what do I do?"
Right.
That's a good way to die.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, this is what I'm proposing here. This is going to probably be a place where those kind of guys are going to gravitate.
Well, we have our own example with Tony.
Right.
If there had been a program like your
proposing here,
suggesting here, maybe Tony's outcome would have been a little different. I do have updates on Tony if you'd like one.
You do. If you're comfortable talking about it, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be limited in my scope, but
sure.
I am in contact with his family, a member of his family, who I made the phone call to, which sucked.
Yeah,
it was one of those phone calls you just don't want to make.
Yeah.
But we have been in contact, and as of now, his status is missing in action.
Yeah.
But he is involved, so that's good news, and that's about all I can say.
Yeah, that's what we know now, and I'm in contact with people who were in his unit, and so they're, when they know things, they'll let me know.
Yeah, of course.
So,
and same here, as I get more, I know there's a lot of people on the stream that really had an interest in Tony and cared about Tony. So,
yeah,
I think it's important to keep people kind of updated, because there is a lot of anxiety. I have a lot of anxiety, I'll be honest with you, as far as, what his fate is, because there's 4 or 5 options out there. And, I try not to mentally dwell on any of them. But it's hard. It's hard, especially when you haven't heard from him in so long.
Yeah. Well, what I will say about Tony is that I talked to him like right before he was set to go out.
Yeah, I remember.
And what he said to me was, first of all, he frankly said, "James, I think I'm going to die out there." That's what he told me, because his unit had gone out, and previously before he got there, and only 2 of them had come back.
That's right, 2 survivors.
Yeah,
and they were having to. Well, I really, for OPSEC, I don't want to say anymore.
Yeah,
because just I don't want to give the orcs any
more fuel.
Any fuel.
Yeah, exactly. But he also said to me at the same conversation was, James, I'm doing exactly what I want to do. I love this, is what he said.
That's right. And I'm glad we gave him an opportunity to do so. I have hope, to be honest with you, that we're going to hear from Tony. I just, not to get, he had kind of a personal revelation before he went, kind of a vision that of protection is what him and I talked about. So I think he's probably not in the greatest place, but I think Tony's, I don't know. I have to keep that one kernel of hope left for everybody, including his family, and especially me. I mean, Tony was a friend.
Right.
But anyway, I don't want to diverge into.
No. I mean, it bears directly on what we're talking about today,
Truly.
And brings a real seriousness to it that I think is just so important. So, oh, by the way, hello, Cheryl. Thanks for coming. I think, did we finally get you in the Discord, Cheryl? I wasn't sure. So the problem, right? And this has been since the beginning of the war. Many hands, few tools, no training and no leadership. and arguably, the International Legion suffered and maybe continues to suffer from some of these problems. So, many wish to come to Ukraine to fight, but have, like me, I was here already, of course, but have no training or combat experience, and you're right. They shouldn't be just thrown into the battle, but at the same time, it's an opportunity wasted there. And Ukraine didn't have the infrastructure to take advantage of that.
True.
And then the other problem is, like you said, the war tourists, and I don't know if you remember this, but at the beginning of the war, the rent in Lviv went up like 7 times.
That's right, because you had so many people coming over. And remember, them cats were flying over like in their ACUs and BDUs or whatever. They had their like war uniform on the plane. It was like,
yeah.
Come on, man. It's like they, a lot of them really thought they were going to get off the train and be like in combat, right? Have to drive and roll and tuck and cover, wherever the hell they call
complete
it.
Lack of any, and I found this in the Legion as well. People had guys had a lot, really, the best of intentions, absolutely no knowledge whatsoever about Ukraine.
Yeah.
Zero.
But like you said, the best intentions, and that's what Ukraine needs right now.
Yeah.
Is, more guidance for the people who do have good intentions.
Yeah.
And that's what I find in your proposal so relevant, is the fact that it does supply some guidance and some structure for people who want to help.
Yeah.
You know.
And so that's kind of my point, is that like I say here, rather than being stymied or rejected, these people need to be welcomed further in. Their efforts need to be properly distributed where they're needed in the ways that they can best help.
It's funny. Sorry, you're that war tourist. I went to Ukraine and all I got was this lousy shrapnel. That's really funny.
Well, I mean, I say, you might say war tourism is bad, but if it can be turned to something good.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah. There you go, Jonathan. As the sod turns, I would like to see some infrastructure in place to cover those of us who would like to show up this winter to help. Perfect example. So, and that's interesting. We're talking about the winter.
Yes, that was one of my questions about your proposal, but go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah. So, so that brings us to the third problem, right? So a lot of homes here, and I could point in any direction, and there's homes around me that are unlivable, that have been abandoned for decades. Some of them since the 1980s, 70s, something like that. And I'm not in a war area at all, but there's no electricity, there's no indoor plumbing, there's no plumbing, indoor or outdoor. There's a well and an outdoor toilet,
Yep.
Um,
Spartan, they call it.
A what?
Spartan conditions.
Yeah, yeah. And the problem is there's a huge number of internally displaced refugees that have come from the occupied territories and the war zones, who are now living in a lot of those houses. And it sucks. And it's a health crisis just waiting to happen, arguably. My village has doubled in size, and the prices of homes has gone up. So like the average price of a home in my village here is now about $30,000.
Yeah, but that's a lot of money in Ukraine.
A lot. It's a huge amount. But homes here, you can still, and I have a realtor friend who was one of the first person I had on my channel. You can still buy homes here for like $1,000 to $3,000 dollars, in that kind of a range, And Jonathan, this is I'm talking about you. He said, Jonathan says, hey, if you have tools, some of us have skills to build anything come winter. That's kind of the point I'm getting at. Basic plumbing, indoor toilets, electrical wiring, some kind of a heating system, modern kitchens, this sort of thing. It doesn't have to be the best, but something. Anyway, so.
No, and Anna's asking maybe help with the economy, and that's that's really key, is to spend money inside of Ukraine.
Yeah, exactly.
You buy your supplies, you buy your tools, everything inside of Ukraine. That really does help the economy.
Exactly. So here's the solution that I'm coming up with. And one thing I did send. I don't think I sent the full version of this, but I sent an early version of this to one other person in our group here. And the one thing he said was maybe split humanitarian and kind of combat training boot camp.
Agreed.
We'll get into that. That's one. It's up for discussion. But all right, so here's the solution that I'm proposing. Is, and I gave it a name, Angels for Ukraine, and that's not just because of Greg Terry. Let's see. People are, Mitch Ashdown, walking water, because if you run with a pail, you will spill. Yes, I have done that, actually. Probably could get a volunteer, to general contractor to build a repair. Yeah, and Canti, and actually I am talking to Canti. I'm probably going to have him on the show when he gets back to America. So you used to renovate in the winters when not landscaping. Yeah, exactly. So the idea here is that it's kind of, now we can talk about separating humanitarian and sort of quasi combat training. But for right now, the proposal is just like, I'm not talking about shooting guns, guys, but basic combat and or medical training. Does that make sense to you, Shirkan?
Yeah, I mean, everyone can run around and go pew 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 pew.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking everything except for the guns. There's a lot of
and there's a lot of value in some of this training for volunteers as well.
Yeah,
because you never know when you're going to be under that in that situation.
Right.
And if a lot of people, like Matt, not only has been in the Legion, but Matt also drives, and volunteers to take supplies up to the front, like you're going to do.
Right.
I mean, you have no fucking clue what's going to happen when you're up there. That's the scary part. And laugh. You laugh like a true Viking. I like it. That's good.
Well, to be honest, my natural reaction to fear is to laugh. So
that's why we do this, James.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there. When we say combat training, we're not talking about shooting guns. We're talking about all the things that are involved of like movement, how to stay safe, how to take cover, how to, you know,
What is cover?
what? Yeah, all those things. How to move as a group. Um,
Yep.
just battlefield awareness. All of those things. Right. So that okay, plus training in language training in either Russian or Ukrainian or both from Ukrainians. Um, and then we'll provide some kind of like community service to the Ukrainian communities that we're in.
Yeah.
So this is the idea. So volunteers coming to Ukraine will have an infrastructure when they join. We'll have kind of a continuous revolving pool of volunteers. So a lot of people can only come for a week or 2 weeks. That's interesting, Blonde Bombshiller. You mentioned. What about rehab for vets? Is that something you want to be a part of the program? I mean, that's a real. I'm thinking about specifically talking about the Ukrainians. When we are, let's say, rebuilding a home, okay, we're going to naturally have Ukrainians show up who are going to say, "Hey, we want to help." One student of mine who does run one of the rebuilding projects north of Kyiv said that the way it generally works is they start at the end of one block and they start rebuilding homes, and as it's good, then we should have a conversation, Blonde Bombshell. So everybody on the block, they know that their house is going to get repaired faster if they come and help the first house.
Yeah.
Right. So you get the whole block is involved in the rebuilding. And Anna, you mentioned medic positions. That's exactly this type. The majority of my training in the Legion was was first aid. That's probably the most important training you can get, arguably.
Yeah, the basic combat lifesaver.
Right. So what I'm proposing is here. This is a big part of it, right? So, these quote unquote, our training centers or what have you will be quite small. Blonde Bombshell. It's a little bit of a Habitat for Humanity idea for sure. So, so let's just talk about. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is not my best PowerPoint slide ever. I probably should have made it into 2. But so how will it work? So we will need to gather up some, like Anna, you talked about medic positions. We'll need to get some volunteers who have experience as combat medics, preferably, or or at least like a street medic, paramedic in the United States, something like that. I can tell you, I've been approached already, even 2 years ago, and multiple times over the past couple of years, from people who want to come here to help train for that, exactly that sort of thing. But also Ukrainians who have that skill, who want to teach people, and also Ukrainians who want those skills because they know they might get drafted at any time, and they know that they only get a month of training when they go to the ZSAU. So they want to get as much training before EMTs. Thank you, Blonde Bombshell. They want to get training as much as they can beforehand. So it'll be a little bit like what I put here is provide free training to Ukrainians alongside volunteers, kind of in exchange for work. so they get training, but they also become volunteers themselves.
Yeah, and you'll find, I mean, what I've actually had two different experiences, but for the most part, in Ukraine, they like foreigners. I mean, they're just blown away that you're there helping. You know, is like, what the fuck are you doing here? And they want to spend time around you. I mean, so it's great. And as far as the volunteers go, you know, this is my humble opinion, but helping is not enough. I mean, this is a cultural event.
Right.
You know, and you know, you learn to respect the Ukrainian culture. You learn the Ukrainian culture in the first place, and they get a cultural exchange as well. I mean, it broadens everybody's kind of horizon. I like it.
Yep. And I mean, there's all sorts of. It doesn't just have to be home repair. Elegant mess. Yeah. Yes, he says I'd be lying if I were to say I'm not scared, nervous, and excited all at the same time signing up for the Legion. Yeah.
Well, those are appropriate emotions.
Yeah. And this sort of a thing, like what we're doing here, for people who are, you know, they come to Ukraine, they want to join the Legion, but they have to wait forever and ever to get accepted. This would be a great place for them to go. They can come here for up to 3 months and get a bunch of training. Before they go into the Legion. Yeah, so Anna, you have trauma emergency surgical training. Boom.
I think Anna is volunteering to be one of your cadre.
I think you are, Anna. I think you're going to be one of our first medical trainers. You know, but like Zhenya and Greg Terry, they were talking about how they need help with just very basic, simple repairs on their vehicles. You know, that they have to drive around. Simple things like repairing drones, fixing drones or maybe even building them.
Yeah, any technical skill right now is needed.
Well, I mean, I taught drone repair to teenagers, you know, here in Ukraine. So,
well, I mean, we have the organization I'm working with. We have various programs that involve youth and young people that are building drones for the cause. I mean, that's part of their industrial training is to build drones.
Right, exactly. And I'm hoping very soon to speak to let's see, to this group here, which is a group being organized by some people working with Artur Rehi on something like that. I don't know what shape it's going to take yet, but hopefully,
very cool.
Hopefully, yeah. So that brings us to the question about how will it be paid for, and that's all. The devil's always in the details, right?
Yep.
What do you think about these price points, Shere Khan and everyone else? Yeah. Do you? I mean, look, if you come to live in Ukraine, it's probably going to cost you between $500 and $1,000 for the month.
That's absolutely correct.
So we'll pay, like you'll get all the food you need. We'll pay for your room and board. All of that will be paid for and taken care of.
Yeah. It's just to throw it in there for $500 to $1,000, $500 to $1,000, 2 weeks to a month. You're going to live like a king, pretty much. I mean, that's you're not going to be hemorrhaging money. I mean, Ukraine is it's very cheap to live on the economy.
Right, exactly.
And I'm assuming this money is going to go into paying for whoever's cooking the meals.
Exactly.
You know, which once again brings livelihood to the Ukrainian economy and those communities. I mean, I guarantee you there's not a community, well, except some upscale places in Kiev, that is not hemorrhaging right now when it comes to needs, financial needs.
Yeah. And you know, somebody who has a you know, they have a 1 to 2 week vacation, you know, and maybe this is like, you know, a paycheck of money, and then of course, you know, the plane tickets are going to be about $500-600 minimum each way. I mean, you could spend more, but
If you like to sit in the cattle car, you're right. It's going to be $5.
I do that. I'm terrible. I'm the guy who will save like $30 on a plane ticket by getting like a 10-hour layover.
Oi.
Oh, I've done it to myself so many times, and I always regret it, because I'm thinking, oh, I'm saving $30 or whatever. And then I end up spending, because I'm just stuck in the airport, I end up spending like $50 or $100 on, bad airport food. And
The worst is when you get in the United States is when you get a layover that's long enough for you to just rent a car and drive to your destination.
yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Il Pirata has a very good question. How do you make it a tax deduction for the volunteer in their country of residence? Well, that's where we have to start a nonprofit or tag on to like Greg Terry's nonprofit, which is why I proposed it to him. Because it would be, the payment would probably go to an existing, the easiest way would be to have it go to an existing nonprofit. Oh, hey, Canti, you're here. Thanks for coming. Yeah, so Canti, I was able to get a round trip from US and back for $535. Wow.
That's pretty good.
That's amazing.
To where, though? Is that to Rzeszów? Is that to Krakow?
Yeah, I assume Poland, somewhere in Poland, yeah. Yeah.
And you'll get to that eventually in your proposal, is the travel part.
Yeah. Yeah, so Elegant Mess, who's waiting to join the Legion in Lviv, he says, thankfully I signed up prior to leaving the States, but I'd love to get some training beforehand as I don't have any prior experience. See, that's what exactly the sort of thing I'm talking about. Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, this was my little graphic, I'm not entirely certain that push-ups are going to be involved. I suppose they should be, a little bit of fat camp doesn't hurt, know.
Well, you got to understand the basic physics of combat. If
Right.
you're a bigger person, you're a bigger target. You're going to get hit faster than someone who's smaller than you. And by the way, those small people like me are the ones that have to drag your big ass off the combat field. So lose weight.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah, the guys didn't like, because they did have to drag me a lot when we were, training for the combat medic training.
That's funny. It's good training.
Yeah, it was great, but they were like, "Oh God, we got to drag him again." Yeah, so so like I said, I just picked a number. It's $1,000. I don't know if that's what it's going to work out to, but so that includes all your room and board, all your classes, all your costs. I mean, you can always spend more money if you want, but so you're going to live in a house, with 4 to 10 people in a little village somewhere, not in the war zone, there's plenty of work to do outside of the war zones for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So so you get three meals a day, home cooked meals, lots and lots of borscht is what it'll be. You better like borscht or bring your own food. Sorry.
Kasha.
But yeah, minimum 4 hours of study or training each weekday. All the tools, parts, and supplies. Now, obviously, we're going to need to get that paid for somewhere, but we'll take donations for that, and maybe part of the $1,000 will cover a certain amount of equipment and supplies, and also the accountant. But it's not going to be structured like the Army. It needs to have some kind of group decision making. So we have it's a friendly atmosphere. It's not like it's not like Full Metal Jacket kind of a boot camp.
More like Lord of the Flies.
let's hope not that either. Anyway, yeah. So
this is important.
Yeah. So travel cost is not important. No, not included. Sorry, it's very important, is what I meant to say. But so I have a travel company that they're just a company that I've been teaching English. They're actually an American company owned. I should show you. I'll bring it up here. Vega Travel. I mean, obviously anybody can just book tickets, okay? But so Vega Travel was started in the Soviet Union. It's over 75 years old. This is not what they look like, by the way. They're all Ukrainian. So they were started in the Soviet Union, and then the owners, of course, in 1991, picked up and moved to America. So now it's an American company, and they help people travel all over the world, and especially, in former Soviet bloc states, I guess. Il Pirata says, let's see, according to Lord Google, will take you from O'Hare to Warsaw next Friday for $755. Return ticket, and it's direct. Yeah,
I'm not sure. What is that? The closest you can get, James, is Warsaw, or is it Krakow?
I think Krakow's closer.
Yeah, Rzeszów is the best, but Rzeszów is very expensive to find flights to.
Yeah, well, the problem is first you have to learn how to spell it.
Yeah, right.
So that's the problem. So these guys, they're the company's Ukrainian, and they're like really excited about this. And so for people who are like, I'm scared, I've never traveled outside the country, and it's just kind of a thing that it's kind of a partnership to work with anyway. Yeah. So you can't bring guns, although. What do you think about that, Shirkan? What do you think about this?
I think there's two. Well, first of all, you can absolutely not, by any circumstances, bring a firearm or any type of explosive or hand grenade or anything like that. That is a no-go. Yeah. First, you're going to have trouble getting it out of the United States. The second thing is, if you're going to bring optics, it depends on what kind of optics, because some things are ITAR restricted or could be ITAR restricted. So. I think what it boils down to is it's called dual purpose. If you can use something for two different purposes, for example, I had some special forces guys that requested rangefinders. They needed some high-speed rangefinders from me. So I took over some rangefinders. And when it came to a question of dual purpose, I was like, well, these are for golf. And you can use, right? Because there's some great golf. There's a lot of golf holes out front, in the front. Just not a lot of people playing golf, but if it's for dual purpose, then you're good to go. So things like, and I've got to be careful how I say this. I have heard of people taking over things like optics, like EOTechs and Trishicons and things like that. I have heard of them taking that kind of stuff. I don't know where I heard it. However, you make it a point to put that in your carry-on bag, period. Yeah. Yeah. Because once you leave the United States, I mean, if it's in your carry-on bag, it only gets screened once, and that's at TSA. The next time you have to worry about it is at the border. At TSA, usually you're boarding a domestic flight, or actually they don't even care. At a TSA checkpoint in the United States, if you have something in your carry-on, you have something in your carry-on. They don't care where you're going with it, if that makes any sense. Your bags, your checked bags will be scanned and x-rayed by your host country. Yeah. Your carry-on will not be. So take that information where you need to. Fun fact, the travel company, this Vega Travel, one of the big things they specialize in is helping Americans travel with weapons, usually on safaris to like Africa and stuff. So yeah, sorry, I'm laughing at these comments. They're really funny. Yeah. I love the one. What was it? Blonde Bombsheller said, "It's an assault rifle and it can core an apple." It can core an apple. Yeah, exactly. I'm sure it could. Yeah. Oh, it's definitely a struggle for me, as I've never learned any other language, and the 7 cases. Yeah. Yeah. But another thing is there are shooting ranges in Ukraine. I mean, it's possible to go shooting in Ukraine. Just working that out with all the details and the people who own the firearms. But
Yeah.
but you cannot bring your own gun. It's basically what it boils down to.
Right.
Nor can you take your gun home.
Yeah, that's the other thing is just keep in mind that most of what you bring, you may not end up. I mean, as far as military gear, they may try to say, no, you can't take that out of the country. I mean, I've heard that from multiple people. So, at one time you were able to, and as long as it was yours and you could prove that it was yours, and now it's my understanding that that is difficult now.
But some of the basic parts of your kit, honestly, you should leave in Ukraine. If you're
Right.
leaving and you're leaving for good, well, you don't need that kit anymore. Someone else can use it.
Right. Yeah. So then, the other things that are not included is a guaranteed position in any military organization or any volunteer organization. There's no guarantees. Okay. But, you're going to get people who, and like I say, a little bit further down, who want to kind of use Ukraine as a backdoor into the EU, for example. And I get that almost every day on Facebook. I don't know why they message me, because they want to come to. They say they want to join the Legion or something, and it's like, yeah, no. Especially when they say something like, "I want to be mercenary. How can I come to Ukraine?" Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if you're a mercenary, you're going to lose your citizenship in the United States of America.
Right. Well, these are mostly people from the Middle East and Africa who message me, pretty much. So, right. So, kind of my vision for guys, being a teacher, I of course plan to schedule. So this is kind of like my vision. Of course, it probably won't look like this because there will be actual instructors who will make the schedule, but it'd be something like this. So Monday through Thursday, you have breakfast and 3 home cooked meals, couple hours of PT that may include like community service work, and that might be something like I'm all about kind of crossover work, stuff like this. Digging a septic tank is great training for digging trenches. Very similar, actually.
Right.
And if you want to know what this is a ground source heat pump system, which basically is just water hose in the ground down to about not even 6 feet deep in this case. And then it's a closed loop system, and they pump water through it. And anyway. So, and then 2 hours of, some sort of what we'll call preparedness training. Maybe we should take away the word combat training, right? So,
Yeah.
TCCC, land navigation, mine detection, maybe not mine clearance, but at least, how to not step on mines.
Good skill.
Shelter and trench preparation, combat zone movement and safety, field vehicle repair, all those sorts of things that if you're gonna spend any amount of time here in Ukraine as a volunteer, or eventually to join the Legion or something like that, you're gonna need all of these things. And then a couple of hours learning Ukrainian or Russian, I guess, because they all speak both. And then another 2 hours of actual like community service work, and that could be any number of things. I mean, that could be a situation where we are working with one of the like Brave to Rebuild, for example, or one of these programs. Any number of things like that. So all in all, you're looking at like probably 4 hours of volunteer work a day, and then 4 hours of training a day.
Good hard work.
Yeah. I mean, now obviously, somebody's disabled Yeah. Il Parata, situational awareness. Yeah. Oh, of course. Cypher says, how much you want to bet there will be people there trying to be John Rambo? Of course. There's going to
Yeah.
be.
I've seen a lot of that, but usually those people are the first ones in the fetal position, not helping anybody.
Right. And the nice thing is, those people, they still pay $500. So,
Yeah.
or it's not refundable. So, so and I'm proposing, because we do this in Legion 2, in
It's a good
training,
idea.
So there's some sort of evaluation or a measure of how you're improving or your skills over time, and it's largely just for you, but old people can't be on the zero line. Hate to tell you, Lauren, but
Not true.
there's a lot of old people out there, man. I mean, like, 60, 65, certainly,
Yeah.
close
These
to
guys
70.
are hardcore, man.
Yeah. So Fridays would be, like a PT test, combat medicine test, language test, all about mastery learning methodology. Sorry, that's my teacher speak coming out. Okay, I'm not going to go into what mastery learning is. I'm just saying it's a positive situation, like, right. And then Saturdays would be where we go on kind of maybe a little field trip, and we go to do some kind of a big community infrastructure improvement project somewhere. Who knows if that means the babushka down the street needs her potatoes dug, hope maybe, or we're gonna rewire this house, or we're gonna dig a new septic tank today. Yeah. No, need to teach OPSEC too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are some of the basic things. So, and then Sundays we can. Have you ever heard, Shirkan? Have you ever heard of the Hash House Harriers?
No, I have not.
Okay. All right. I got to tell you guys about the Hash House Harriers, the HHH, Hash House Harriers. It was started in India, in British India. I'm going to say in the 1930s. Oh my God, there's a Kiev chapter of the Hash House Harriers. Holy shit. Okay. It's known as a running club with a drinking problem. Oh no, a drinking club with a running problem.
Running
Sorry.
problem.
So what they do is that it's orienteering. Okay. It's like a what do they call it? Hounds and hare. Scavenger hunt. Anyway, it's like orienteering. But the destination that you orient to is always going to be a bar. Eventually, it's like a bar crawl with literally extra steps.
Of course, started by the British.
Of course. Not in India. I'm sorry, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, in 1938. Okay, and they gave it that name for whatever reason. And so basically, you run somewhere. You have to navigate to some place through the up and down streets or whatever, and eventually you get to the bar. Sometimes you make a big circle and you come back around to the same bar, and then you're allowed to have like one drink, and then you got to go run it off again. So I feel like that's natural. That would, if I still drank beer like I used to, that would be a natural motivator to get me to do my cardio. I'm not naturally motivated to do that stuff, So anyway, that's just a kind of the idea of a Sunday activities,
So I do have a question.
Yeah.
And one of your, you're going to get to frequently asked questions, but actually this was not on there. The winter activities, because I mean, how much is really going to happen during the winter in Ukraine?
That's a good question. Well, it's tough to dig. um, it's tough to dig, but there's a lot of stuff that can be done indoors.
True.
And
It's just, I mean, I like my low this winter in New Mexico where I live was 9 degrees Fahrenheit. That was
yeah,
the lowest it got, which was pretty darn cold.
yeah,
But 9 degrees Fahrenheit is like what, I think minus 11 or something. I can't remember.
hmm
That in Ukraine, which it gets to, is brutal. I mean, that's like life-changing type winter. Well, at least it was for me. I was not expecting to live in a parka and long underwear for that amount of time. It's
yeah,
very, very cold. You know, and I feel I live in the mountains. I mean, I'm
sure,
used to cold, but yeah,
sure,
if you're not used to real cold,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I spent three winters up in Sandia Knolls, if you know where
oh
that
wow,
is, the
I do.
backside of the mountain, and had a 2,000 square foot home, and all we had for heater was one big giant wood stove.
Wood stove, yeah.
3 acres of land with hundreds of trees, and I was a axe chopping motherfucker, man. Jesus Christ. I think I chopped 5 cords of wood.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't had like 3 different chainsaws, and they were always breaking down, you know. So that's but
Cypher says that's like North Dakota and as Nodak and Sodak cold. That's absolutely what it's like in Ukraine.
yeah. Well, where were you? I mean it does get
Well,
it
in the
does cold.
winters, I happen to always be in the Carpathians. So,
Oh, okay. Okay.
yeah, it's fucking brutal. And just
Yeah, dude.
I mean, even
That's the
coming in
literal
from
mountains.
Poland, you get on the plains, it can get even worse.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as you get out of the mountains, there's nothing to stop those winds.
Yeah, yeah.
It's insane.
Because I
And
will
some of the
say,
places I was staying, didn't have windows like you're talking about, or doors
right,
that closed all the way.
right,
And
right,
it's, if you don't have a heat source, you need to
right.
be tough. That's all I
Well,
can say.
kind of what I imagine is kind of leapfrogging houses. Okay,
Okay.
so in other words, we'll buy a house cheap, $1,000 to $3,000 or $1,000 to $5,000. Let's just say that, right? Something in that range. Fix it up so it's at least livable, and then that will be the house that the group lives in while they're fixing up the next house. Then they
Yeah.
fix up the next house, and the house that they were in previously. Some internally displaced refugee family can move in there.
Good idea.
No,
I like that.
and then so from that point on, then nobody's going to be outside all day. But let's see, Jonathan. Oh, you guys are they're coming up with all kinds of ideas now. Oh, yeah, Jonathan said I've built in minus 30. Yeah, I mean I've
Wow.
I have too. Out there on the Indian reservation, the Navajo res, it got so cold, and then with the wind chill, it was blowing 70 miles an hour, and I was out there wiring, setting up internet connections, actually outdoors, doing the wiring and shit like that. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it is a thing, of course. The cold is an issue, and people won't be prepared for it.
Yeah.
Frankly, I'm less prepared for the heat.
That's brutal as well.
For me, well, the summer here, the climate here is, if you are from the Midwest, you'll feel like you're right at home.
Yeah.
That's what I would say about it. And for me, I can't take the humidity. I hate the heat in this. I hated the heat in the summertime in New Mexico and California too. But the humidity here, it's just, oh God. I'm basically, I'm an asshole from 1st of June to the 1st of September. Just, you know how some people have seasonal, what do they call it? Seasonal affective disorder.
Yes.
Yeah, in the winter. Well, I have it in the summertime. So
that's funny.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, there is that to consider. But the Swedes like to say, there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothes.
Good point.
That's what they told me when I lived there. So,
That's a good point.
Um,
And having good gear helps. So
yeah.
I'm just a whiner when it comes to
No,
the cold.
no,
But
it's
go ahead.
fair.
Get back to your. You probably get back to your frequently asked questions here.
Oh yeah. Oh sure. Yeah. So these are frequently asked questions in my imagination. Okay, so let's be clear about that. But these are just things that I imagine people asking. What if I want to train for combat? What if I don't want to train for combat and just do volunteer work? Well, maybe we ought to have just a program just for that.
Yeah.
Simple as. What if I don't want to learn X and only Y? Somebody was talking about the gung ho guys, the John Rambos, who want to. Il Parada says, "I'm in for the first 1K on the for the first house."
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, I mean it wouldn't take much, to be honest, to get this going.
Yeah, I was going to say I'll throw some money to the first house too. I mean,
Yeah.
This is a great project, but the John Rambo guys, specifically the John Rambo combat guys, not the volunteers so much. They need to have everything.
Right.
I mean, it's just that simple. You can't just train for one thing. You need to be well-rounded when you go into combat. And if you've never been into combat, you don't understand that. So I see nothing in your training program that you should exclude from someone that's going to combat. If that makes sense.
Yep. Well, but again, my feeling is if you paid $500 or $1,000, we'll obviously the courses and stuff will be changed, and when people are like, wow, we don't need this, oh, this sucks, this was worthless, or we need more of that, obviously it'll be constantly be updated.
Yeah. Oh, you get feedback. That's how education works.
Yeah, exactly. So then the last question I have here is, I already have military combat training or volunteer experience. How can I help? So like Anna was saying, you're basically a doctor. Okay. I mean, yeah, maybe you need to come and be a trainer. And probably what we will do is, obviously we're going to need to have our first group of trainers, and then thereafter, you'll come and you'll participate for at least a couple of weeks or a month or something to get a feel for it, figure out if that's something that you want to be involved in, and then maybe, what I imagine doing is we have a house in this village, and then the group grows and it's successful, and so we start this in another village.
Yeah.
And then we do it in another village, and then pretty soon every other village in every freaking oblast has a little group of foreigners who are, just helping out. And
I like it. And for disciplinary problems, you just send them to Bakhmut.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the idea, guys. Let's see, Il Parate. If there is an escrow account you start, I'll put it there immediately. Yeah. We need to talk about that. I mean, this is the thing. Canti, yeah, I was thinking, because you have a couple of homes, as I recall. Yeah, and so you would be definitely involved.
Look, real quick, Bell Cowart is saying, I'm sure there's a huge need for therapists already.
Yeah,
that's actually not true.
What?
Not yet.
Oh.
as someone who was a mental health professional for a very long time, that's one of the reasons I went over there. I found a job actually working as a psychiatrist in Makachevo. There was a war hospital there, and me and the hospital director talked about, well, what are you doing for mental health? And there is an absolute lack of professionals and counselors in Ukraine right now. That is true. Right. However, the culture right now doesn't really allow it.
Right. That's the thing. There is a huge need for therapists already,
yes.
But they don't know it yet.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Trying to convince Ukrainian men that they need to go see a counselor is going to be harder than fighting the war itself.
Yeah. There's a reason that when the war started, they banned alcohol and banned vodka still in many places.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it was the first thing they did. They handed out AKs to everybody and banned alcohol.
that's right.
Speaks a lot.
But
So,
even as a mental health guy, because I did that after I was out of the military and all that other crap that I did, it does give you great skills over there as far as being able to facilitate conversations and things of that nature. And plus empathy, people don't know that it's not so much, well, this is my opinion. The greatest skill you could learn as a counselor is how to listen. So if you have good communication skills and you can actually listen to people, then they'll probably open up to you and it could be helpful. But as far as sitting down with someone and saying, look, I'm doing therapy with you, that's probably not going to happen yet.
Yeah, you can do therapy. You just have to don't tell them.
No, call it drinking or something. Yeah. I don't know. Something
or just I mean, but I think you'll have ample opportunities as a therapist to do therapy here. Just
true. And for the foreign guys, I know as far as the United States goes, the guys coming back, they're not going to get any help from the Veterans Administration,
right.
Unless they're already in the system, then they can get the help. But there's nothing for guys here, so that's something you might start. If you're in the United States, is
it's a huge need.
A free group for Ukrainian combat veterans.
It's going to be a huge need for sure.
Yeah.
Already, for my friends who are, in, they're like, they need it already, and who have been and stuff. Oh, animals. That's interesting. Blonde Bunchler said animals are that bridge for therapy.
She's right. And that's why you see so many pictures of Ukrainian soldiers with dogs and cats.
Right. Horses for heroes, Blonde Bunchler. Yeah.
So Horses for Heroes. Yeah. I remember them. That's a New Mexico thing, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. So yeah, guys, I mean, this is the deal. So I hope that I sparked your interest and sparked your imaginations. And now we just need to start doing it. I mean, that's what I set up this whole Discord for. And some of you aren't on the Discord yet. And you can, email me or get me somehow, and we'll just talk and make this happen. Like I said, I sent this to Greg Terry. So he hasn't gotten back to me yet. So go over to Greg Terry and tell him, hey, read James's email. Because this would, or some version of this would fit very, very well with the problems that he described that he wants to solve.
Yeah.
With, so I'm all about collaboration, and there we go. Woohoo.
Yeah, thanks. Dude, well done. It's a great presentation.
Thank you.
And it's a great cause, obviously. So however I can help, just let me know.
Yeah. We'll just guys, everybody, I think Rick the Ukrainian here is starting up in about 15 minutes. He's going to have Greg Terry on, I think. So feel free to pester him.
Well, pew pew. I'm actually headed to the range again. So
cool.
Bad back and all. We're going to see if.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, oh my gosh, let me tell you, this therapy they're doing for my back, it's really helping. Like,
is that right?
Yesterday, my back felt, I'm not going to say sore, but it definitely felt like I have been exercising all week on
interesting
my back. But it's weird because normally, when you're doing your different back exercises in the gym, you're working these like big muscles.
That's
and
right.
I felt like it just felt like all these little muscles in weird places that I didn't know I had them were going, hey, so and today I woke up, I got out of bed with no pain in my back for the first time since February.
That's amazing.
Holy crap.
I wish I could say the same. Yeah. But today I'll be laying down in the prone. Yesterday was all handgun. Today is all long gun, so I can actually lay down and
well,
in the working position, I call it. Lay down in the working position.
Working position. Lay down in the working position. Well, yeah, just lift with your knees, I guess. You know.
Right on, man. Well, thanks
right.
again for having me. It's really an honor to be on this program.
Yeah,
I mean, I really appreciate it.
Well, I'm really glad that I could have somebody to bounce things off of, who has experience there. I will tell you that when I first drafted this back in 22, I sent it to just a random people like who I found on Facebook. One guy told me that I was trying to start my own army and I'd be arrested.
No, man, it's not an army. I mean, I get the paramilitary slant on it, but
right.
I'm not sure there's many. Well, I got to shut my mouth.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, okay, guys, thank you all for coming, and be sure to if you want to give any support to what I'm doing here right now, we got the drone, and that's all good to go. But we always need tourniquets, and have a great night, and Slava Ukraine, guys.
Heroim Slava.